Hello and welcome to Get Rich Slow, the podcast that challenges the conventional get-rich-quick ideology and instead explores what authentic success really means and how you can achieve it. I'm Hannah Martin, founder of Talent Ladies Club, and today I am joined by Kate Taylor, creator of the Practical Magic Activation Deck and Your Big, Bold, Beautiful Life, for an episode on ethical launches. Hi, Kate.
Hi, Hannah. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm really well. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming on. I'm really excited to be talking about this subject with you. But before we dig into it, I'd just like to know, what does success mean to you?
That's such a good question. Success to me is a feeling more than anything else. It's not necessarily about the amount of dollars in the bank or money in the bank or whatever it is. But for me, it's a definition. You say, I'm the founder of what it is to live a big, bold, beautiful life. And for me, that's what success feels like. It's what feels like I am living the biggest, boldest, most beautiful life for myself. And that's a feeling of presence, like really being true and present to what I'm doing in each and every moment, and a good check-in point. And it's also the people that I'm spending time with, the conversations I'm having, the community, the opportunities that are in front of me, and generally how creative I feel in my work and what I'm doing. So it's all a sense of feeling rather than a sense of actually having something. But the joyful thing about that and living a big, bold, beautiful life is that the external rewards tend to come along with what it is that you're doing, that you're focusing your presence and your attention to.
I love that. Actually, if you think about it, so, talking about like working for feelings first, and the material rewards often come when you are at that zone of genius, but the other way around, where you're trying to get the material things first, and then you hope that the feelings are going to come after. That, if I have this car, that I'll be happy. Isn't it far better to pursue the feeling first? It's far more authentic.
Absolutely, because there's always the reason underneath why we want to have certain things, and it's getting to that first.
Absolutely. So obviously you've got these very grand sounding titles like the Practical Magic Activation Deck and the Big, Bold, Beautiful Life. So what is it that you actually do? How do you help people?
So I call myself a life design and empowerment coach, and essentially what I do is help people to get really clear in their life, the kind of life that they are, where they're feeling stuck right now, and the kind of life they're designing for themselves, and then feel empowered to take the steps. And I support them to do that. My clients call me the human dream catcher, because one of my favorite things to do is help people tune into, on every level and on the sensory level, what that big, bold, beautiful life looks like, sounds like, feels like, and then bringing it closer to you to make it happen. So when my clients are working with me, and that may be that we're working in a program together on their life, or it may be on their business, that we are working towards that vision and bringing it into the very moment and feeling and working through the barriers that are stopping people from getting there. So with that often comes the confidence or the inner critic or the imposter syndrome. And I help people to get stronger, to get bold, to step into what it is that they're doing and feel good doing it.
Brilliant. And so I know, like, the reason why I invited you on here, because we've had a conversation, haven't we, about how your business has been over the last year, and it has been very, very successful, and you've had some brilliant launches, but I know that has raised some questions in you about how you run a big, bold, beautiful business, really, isn't it? And how your business aligns with your purpose in life and how you live your life. Tell me how that started. So how did you go to have that enormous success? What was it that triggered it? What was the thing that you learned to enable you to do that?
Yeah, so I guess this kind of like the pivotal point for me came in at the end of 2019, where I've been doing this work for a long time now, and I'm having various degrees of success, like bringing the Practical Magic Activation Deck into the world, running a well-being festival, like really loving the work that I was doing, but it felt like it wasn't gaining the traction. And if you'd looked at the amount of effort that I was putting into the work versus the kind of return that I was getting in the number of clients and the income, there was a definite gap between them. And at the end of 2019, I decided to work with a mentor to help me create expansion in the business, which was absolutely incredible. And then obviously with divine timing, we had the experiences that we had in 2020. So a lot of people were searching for my kind of help, for people navigating the way that they wanted to do in their lives. And what I had created out working with a mentor were programs that helped to take people through a journey from where they were stuck and getting them to where they wanted to be. So it's kind of like taking all of the work that I'd already been doing and consolidating it into something which was basically accessible and that people could connect to. And I mean, that's been incredible, and it's created huge expansion in the business. I've gone on to create other programs and other services, including training and facilitating using the Practical Magic Activation deck, so I can teach people to become coaches. It's been phenomenal, and it has caused, or created, should I say, huge expansion in the business. And I think where we were, like the conversation that we were having was that I was reflecting back on the last 2 years and saying, wow, it has been incredible. I learned so much during that mentorship. And the thing that is slightly starting to, what I'm really noticing now is just how much energy it takes to keep consistently creating the kind of launches that I had done to get to that level of success. And I can't do it without burning out anymore. So I'm really noticing both from my own energy what it takes to be able to do that, but also noticing some of the tactics and strategies weren't sitting comfortably with me anymore. And I think we're getting so much more well versed in the power of understanding emotionally what dysregulates us as humans. And I was getting really curious about that, and the curiosity, when you start taking notice of it, you can't unsee it, can you? And then it really shows itself to you, because the launch model that I had learned no longer works, so everything has a season in marketing. But I think what's really interesting, and something I know that we'll go into, is we're having to really unlearn a lot of, I've been in marketing for 25 years. You and I are both from London agency backgrounds. We're having to completely unlearn a lot of the tactics and strategies that marketing has, going through marketing has always told us to do. And this is how you talk to people, and you talk to their pain points, and you poke at those pain points, and And it was just like, this is no longer okay. This is no longer okay. And I don't want to be in that world. So I really started noticing and becoming glaringly obvious, both in terms of looking at how launches can, or some launches, not all of them, can dysregulate people and cause fear and cause overwhelm and cause people to feel worse than they did when they came in. And I'm an empowerment coach. Why on earth would I want people to feel less empowered coming to work with me? It just wasn't working anymore, and my energy couldn't do it anymore.
So you mentioned there are certain ways of that sort of old style of marketing that didn't fit with your ethics, and you talk a bit about some of the language, and I know exactly the language. I always call it the shame bullet points that you're supposed to start out with. Are you a loser who can't make money, and all those kind of things. And I have to
Are you a complete failure in
yes,
love?
exactly. So they're crying by the end of the time they get to the bottom of that. And I had to say, when I started doing TLC, and I did that on a few things, and it never felt comfortable with me. I was basically telling about how awful, how lacking they were. But what are some of the other things that ethically that you think that that how people may be doing launches now that might not be a good thing to do, or might be a better way of doing it, might not be ethical?
Yeah, there's definitely the thing around scarcity, if you don't have this, if you don't do this now, if time's going to run out, and it taps, I think basically anything that taps into our inherent sense of fear about the world is if you're tapping into people's emotional pain points and you know that you're digging at our basic human fears, then that is not ethical, So it is like, you're never going to make a go of things if you don't do this. If you don't start doing this now, then basically you're going to die miserable. Like, I know those are pretty extreme, but that's essentially what we're saying to people, because people's biggest fears are around time running out, money running out, failing, that's a huge one, isn't it? And never being good enough. And I think anything where you're hearing people feeling dysregulated, whenever somebody's being dysregulated, that is unethical marketing. And there's also when you're setting unrealistic expectations, like we see a lot around the 6 to 7 figure businesses. And of course, like, I was there, I wanted that. Oh my God, and I got that, and that's been amazing. But bloomin' heck, it took, that hit near burnout to try and get that. And to be honest, I hit 6 figures and I was looking around going, hang on a minute, I've spent a lot of that money getting there. So I think those unrealistic expectations. And the other thing I think is really important is the spiritual gaslighting, the spiritual bypassing. When I see it so much at the moment in the world of spirituality, which is, a place I love to be myself. But when we're telling people that they're not making a go of things because their energy is off, like, that's really freaking dangerous. Really freaking dangerous. Or you can't do something because you're not thinking, you're not manifesting hard enough. We have to be so careful about our intention and what we're doing when people are giving you their money and working with you to get to a certain point,
Absolutely, and I can't agree more. And for me, obviously mindset is a huge part of success, and I'm not saying that envisaging where you want to get to and making it real and getting your mind on business. But but often, like, for me, sort of manifestation, when I see someone like, talking about a kind of a business or money making course, and I see that word there, it's a bit of like a red flag for me. It's like as if, just wanting it enough. But that's where you're getting sort of like MLM style language, and people are told in a business model that is set up so that on average 99.6% of people will fail when business expenses are taken into account according to the Federal Trade Commission. In a business model where most people will fail, when people do fail, they're told it's their fault. You didn't want it enough. You didn't try hard enough. You're too negative. And you see a lot of that I see that language being used in some launches, in some what I would say maybe less ethical, very FOMO. I call it envy marketing. Where it's here's me and a cocktail and an infinity pool somewhere posh, and just buy my course and you could be like me. That sort of thing.
Yeah. And I think the thing is that the challenge, and some people have had incredible success, not taking it away from anybody who has had that kind of incredible success. But I think if you are telling people that you can be like that, and some people it's freaking luck, right? Some people, they have more privilege than others to be able to do that. There's a lot of things that make that up. And I'm not saying it's not possible, but I'm also not saying that if you don't get to that level of what other people might attune to be success, living in the nomadic lifestyle, like you say, with the infinity pool, doesn't mean that you're not worthy. It doesn't mean that you are a failure. It's different people's version of success. And I think the other thing to be really mindful of is that sometimes it's not a 12-month or an 8-week or a 6-month program. It's a lot of hard work to get there. My business has been 10 plus years in the making. I have 25 years of marketing experience. If I was suddenly to say to somebody who'd never had a drop of business or marketing experience in their life, oh yeah, you can create a wildly successful business over the space of 2 weeks by wanting it hard enough and here you can pay me, £100,000 to do it. It's just we've just got to be, I know that's an exaggerated experience, but we've just got to be mindful of meeting people where they're at and being really mindful of the steps that it really does take to get there, whilst holding people and helping them to be able to see that they can get to where they want to get to, and I think it's really important to meet somebody where they are at every step of the way and be that cheerleader, be that guide, be that support for them, but don't make them feel terrible if they're not where you are.
Absolutely. And you mentioned about, running your business for 10 years and Translator's Club is 9 years old. And I've got, like you, many more years experience before that. And yesterday I was speaking to someone else who finally is successful, and she has replaced her full-time income while working by the beach with her family from home. But she was very honest about the journey she took to get there, and it took a long time. And I think the journey is really important, which is one of the reasons that I wanted to do this podcast, because it's, if someone gave you success immediately, you wouldn't really know. Well, first of all, you wouldn't really value it or really feel like you'd earned it, because it would feel too instant, too easy. But also the lessons you learn along that way are what makes you really good now, and what makes you unable to run that business now. Running a business is hard, and there will always be ups and downs. You've got to make informed, tough decisions, and it's better to make those decisions in small ways as you grow, rather than be managing a business with a huge. And I always wonder, like if you're turning over millions a year, how many people are you servicing, and how are you servicing those people, and how are you managing your energy, as you mentioned? I have to minimize the number of people I can take through my programs, because I have a finite amount of energy and space in my head to keep people so that I can offer them value.
Yeah, and I think this is a huge thing, especially for me, because I'm a huge people person. Like, I care a lot about the people who are on my courses. I care a lot about the people who I work with. I've been fortunate enough through the growth of my business to be able to bring people in, to work with me, which has been incredible. And I want to stay close to that. I want to stay close to the values of the integrity that I feel as somebody who is, I have a huge responsibility to everybody that I work with. And for me personally, if I was getting too big and I didn't have that kind of personable, if someone couldn't drop into my inbox and ask me something, then there's something wrong, If I was too big and had to go through all these filters to be able to get to me, if somebody was reaching out, they were having a wobble, whatever it is, like, I don't know, there's a level of duty of care. And it's not saying that you can't have a big successful business and still really have a care and a heart in what you're doing. Just for me, integrity is the word. Integrity is the word. And and it's interesting, right? Because when I had been through my coaching experience and my mentoring experience, which like I said, I learned so much from. And it's funny because I kind of came out of the gatepost going, right, I'm going to teach the methods that I've learned, and I'm going to help other people, and I'm going to help them create this huge expansion in their business. And I kept checking in with this difference between the ego kind of going, right, okay, well, they've got to have all of these things, this incredible financial success, And the people that I was working with are people like me, who are deep feelers or empaths, and they have very busy, like most of the people I work with have very, very busy lives. They are mothers, they have responsibilities, they're doing their business. And what we have to really tune in with is, again, where you're taking people through any courses, programs, services, it's really tuning in with when they're feeling dysregulated, or they're feeling wobbly, or they're feeling like they're not able to do it, they're burning out. And one of the things I came back to, and the reason I love the name of your podcast, which is Get Rich Slow, is this is long-term sustainable growth. This isn't like sending a rocket full of fuel into the air, creating a big firework explosion and fizzling out into nothing. We can't do that as human beings. And so coming back to the point about if you've got too many people or it feels overwhelming and you're disconnected from who you're working with, if I hadn't had my eyes on the prize of the people I'm working with, really tuning into what their needs are, they could have burnt out, they could have fallen over, and they would have gone away with an awful experience, feeling like they were the failure, feeling like they didn't ever want to do their work, which would be a crying shame because it's important work. And I'm just not okay with that. There's a level, there's a duty of care, and there's an expansion that we can create within business that can be met, and our central nervous system can be met at the same time. And when we're from that place, we can do better work.
Definitely. So we've talked about unethical and style of launches and things you can do that maybe aren't in tune with kind of how you might feel. What are some good things you learned about launches? So what are your kind of top tips of, or sort of things that worked you're going to hold on to in launches?
Yeah, so I think the things that I've really learned from doing launches is the community that you can bring together. So one of the things that I created with, doing Facebook ads, and Facebook ads are great as part of one of the marketing mix of things. But I have really, really loved doing things like mini courses, like free challenges, masterclasses that are bringing people into my world and getting to know them, like really getting to know people. I don't have massive launches. I don't have like tens of thousands of people coming into into my world. But those who are coming in, we have fun. Like, we really do have fun. And there's a sense of community and a sense of camaraderie and a sense of the thing that I love most, and it starts with intention, is that everybody who comes into doing anything with me, you are so supported, whether it's by me, by my team, by the people who come in. Like, everybody really looks after each other. We're here with the best intention for everybody to feel empowered, to everybody to feel nurtured and looked after. So I think that's the thing that I will take away over everything else, is definitely building community. And whether somebody comes in to work with me on a program that I'm particularly launching that time or not, it doesn't, great if you do, but that doesn't mean I'm dropping you like a hot stone afterwards. Like, I love having people in my world. I love the sense of community. I love how people come together. So that is, I think, would be the biggest thing that I've really loved. Also, the nurturing side of things. So I think for me, what it has really helped me to do is get, rather than just making things up on the fly and hoping something sticks, is that we've got a real strategy now. We know when we are communicating about certain things. We know the energy of things as they're flowing along, and the back end of my working processes, because of the brilliant team that I work with, are actually working. So it's not me making things up, writing emails, going, oh, what's popping into my mind at the moment? It's thought through, which is great for me because it takes some of the thinking away from it. And I can focus on serving, which is the most important thing.
So we've got creating a genuine, authentic community that you actually really enjoy serving, and thinking beyond. So maybe you like more community as part of your funnel. But even if someone doesn't buy, about still nurturing that relationship. And that therefore has to come from a place of authenticity, because if you're not going to do that, then if you don't really care about people, then you'll be just like, bye. So having genuine thing there, and also about planning and having a strategy, and not lurching from kind of, oh, I posted on Instagram yesterday, what should I do today? So actually pre-planning it.
Yeah. And I think that some of the biggest things as well are that nurturing your community, asking and listening to what it is that they need. The things that I'm taking away, that I'm learning from what feels good to be doing, is obviously everybody's got different business models, but not everybody can afford, some of your bigger programs. So what we're really making sure is that we have content that serve people where they're at. We're making sure that we're bringing enough people into the program so that we can offer bursaries. we're making sure we're not perfect yet. Nothing's perfect. It's always a work and it's always an evolution. But making sure we're providing a service of consistent content based on what people need. And the other thing that we're doing is that we're changing our business model. So, for example, in the last 2 years, I was working very much on a start-stop program, so they'd only be open a couple of times a year. That just why, when I'm going into a launch, should I be the one to tell people when they are ready to join something? And that's quite a lot of what launching can do. Like, you need this now. So, well, no, they may not need it now. It may not be useful to them now. But actually, we're changing some of our business models so that we're creating that people can join when they are ready, not when I tell them they should be ready. So yeah, lots of different things. And transparency. Like, number one, being really transparent about things. This isn't going to be the last time I open this program. This isn't going to be the last time you can get it. We just got to be a bit more open and honest about it.
Absolutely. So what are some of the mistakes then you see, and not necessarily just unethical mistakes, but genuine common mistakes you make when launching that sabotage their launch?
Yeah, I think not having a really planned out launch will sabotage you. Leaving things till the last minute will sabotage you. Talking about things once and wondering why people aren't signing up to your thing will sabotage you. Like hiding. I work a lot where most of the people that I work with are women who are, especially in business, right? And one of the things we have to really work hard at is being okay with sharing your voice, being okay with promoting yourself, being okay that you are worthy and valid to be there, and something that's really coming up at the moment because we live in such a divisive world is that fear, the fear of, what if I say something that somebody doesn't agree with me and they shoot me down and I get cancelled? Oh, it's huge. So we've got to work a lot with that. So not hiding, not planning in time, and not sharing consistently, not building community.
And so where's the best places for you to build your community? Where are your people, or where have you found the most traction?
Interestingly, still in Facebook. We're at the moment, for my audience, Facebook is the place where we can have the deepest conversations, and it's definitely the place where people still like to hang out. Not everybody. We've had to shift and change quite a few things because people are leaving the platform, obviously. But email as well. Like, I love, you sign up to my email, you're going to get a weekly email where you'll probably learn a bit more about my life than you would like to. But it is a really nice place to have authentic communication with people. And I'm really, really happy that live events are coming back together. I love nothing more than getting together with people in a room or in a space, feeling people's energy and just having that eye-to-eye contact, hugs if people feel comfortable in doing it, and just creating that sense of doing something good for the world by coming together.
Excellent. Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's so nice to, like you say, actually, I don't. You have to ask her. It's okay to hug you.
Yes, permission away.
But it's so nice to kind of see people in the flesh after so long sitting in our homes. So, like, we touched on it a bit. So, what do you think about the whole sort of 7-figure launch thing? And I know that, when I look at it, obviously I research pyramid schemes and multi-level marketing, and I do think that some of the, like, I see some of the sort of the coaching world a bit like that. So you'll have someone right at the top of the tree who's been really successful, and they'll have their first few or their top level program, which very few people will be in, and basically it seems that people are sort of learning a system that they will replicate themselves and then teach people, and it kind of feels that at some point you're going to run down to the bottom of that pyramid, where the people right at the bottom maybe haven't got the marketing savvy to actually implement it, or maybe the money to implement it, or maybe the business to back up that that strategy. And then actually, when you sign up some of these programs, you're not learning how to run a business. You're buying a system that you're just going to replicate. And a bit like in a pyramid scheme, it's not really about the products. It's about recruiting people endlessly. And it kind of feels like sometimes coaching gets a bit like that. It's about the recruitment of people under you. Is that something that you've seen or not?
Well, I definitely see it out there, and I must admit, before I went into the program that I went into, I want to stick pins in my eyes looking at like, oh, you can grow a six-figure business, just because it's that idea of just have, that it's money focused only doesn't really appeal to me. It's just not something for me. And there are some brilliant programs out there. I know there are some really hooky programs out there as well. I think what you have to be so mindful of is doing your due diligence. If you are seeing some snazzy marketing that is like, you can have this lifestyle, you can have this kind of income, and it's the things that you want, there's a lot of coaches out there who offer those kind of programs. So do your due diligence. Go and find the ones that you feel are going to get you what you really need. Ask questions. Ask other people who've been on those programs and ask them about their experiences, because it's like, I know it, and I know this from doing launches as myself and having been watching many other people's and being part of other people's launches. It's so easy to get swept up in the excitement and the razzmatazz and the feeling like you've got to do this thing because it's going to get you this. What I would say is, and I think this is the thing about this coaching world, is I've been thinking about this today a lot. If you're spending a lot more money on a program than you are bringing into your business, just be mindful of that. Just be mindful of that. If you're going into a salary job, you wouldn't be giving over, a good chunk of your salary just to have that job. If it's an investment where you know that there's really solid principles behind it, really solid credentials behind it, and you are able to speak to people who've been through it independently of the launch, and they can give you really honest feedback about the program and what it entails and what it's done for them, I think then, you can make an informed decision. But I think it's just, don't get hooked up into that this is the only time it's going to do it, that this is the only, like, the time's running out and you're going to miss out on all these bonuses. Just watch where your energy and your central nervous system is taking you, because if you get wrapped up in the hype, you can make a decision, and a very costly decision, that could end up trying to get to six figures and could leave you completely high and dry.
And I think that's a good advice. And what I would say is, when you do talk to someone, ask them specifically what it is they've learned. Because often people will come off these programs and they're very about kind of making you feel something. And it's like, well, you might feel it, but how did you double your income? What are the things that you learned? What are the things that you did? Because it's not sort of manifestation that is going to change your business. It's identifying, and it's really boring stuff like, what are you selling? Is there a market for that? Is your market too broad? You need to narrow it. Is your pricing right? All those things. Are you consistently marketing? Are you marketing to the right people? Those are the things that are really going to change something. So I would say, ask them specifically what they learned and how their business changed and why. I've always invested in TLC's growth, and I've invested again now quite a lot every month. But I go to kind of people who aren't very well known. But it's always about specific things. So when I make an investment, I realise there's a gap somewhere in my business or my knowledge. And I'd be like, right, okay, I really need to kind of work out this right now. And then I will go, and rather than wait for a launch, I'll kind of go and like, who's got this knowledge and expertise that I can pay, or has got a program? And then what specifically am I going to learn? And is that in line with what I need? And then I'm making sure that also this is something that I've learned from teaching people, because actually you could be the best teacher in the world, but you can't help some people. And just do what it is that you're told. So, and that's how, when I pay someone to help me and they give me things, whether I whether I want to do it or not, sometimes I don't. I turn up every week and I've done my homework, because otherwise why pay them? And I've seen this like many a time. Some students will come onto a program, they're full of enthusiasm and energy, and they burn out after 3 weeks. And there are others that just turn up every single week and they've done the work. And they turn up to every call, and those are the ones that get the results at the end. And it can seem really simple, but actually it's quite difficult to follow the program and stick with it, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's right. It's like, if you've signed up for something, make sure that you are taking the action. The other thing that I wanted to add into what you've just shared there, which is brilliant, is that there's no one model of doing something. If you are signing up to something that says the only way you're going to get that is this, then yes, it is one way. But I think if you are investing the kind of money because you want to grow, you want to create growth in your business because you don't have the marketing knowledge, or you don't know how to do certain things, like, is that, like you said, is that the gap that you don't have? Or is it the thing that you're being sold because somebody is telling you it's what you should have? And yeah, it's like just being mindful that there is not just one way of doing something. There is a variety of ways. And in business, there are many, many, many different ways to bring people and earn money and create growth in your business. So obviously, there's not all programs do all of those things. But if that's what you're looking for, then like you said, go and find that person who might have different specialists who come into their program that might deliver on those things.
And as you say, do your research beforehand. Don't get whipped up into that frenzy, like you've got to buy now. 5,000 people have bought this second, and they're going to, like, just do your research, think quietly. Don't be emotionally manipulated. Don't allow yourself to get emotionally attached to a narrative, and think carefully.
Yeah, I would definitely give it the 24-hour, 72-hour cooling off period before you do anything. I say that to people who come onto my course as well, like being somebody who does do launches. I don't want anybody to sign up and then completely not be so scared about what they've just done. Like, yes, okay, when you're making an investment, of course it's going to feel stretchy, of course it's going to feel terrifying sometimes. But when you're tuned into, this is the thing that I know I need, even when it feels terrifying, that's a good energy. Whereas, oh my goodness, I've just completely shot myself in the foot because I've made this investment and now I don't know how to get out of it. That's not a good feeling.
No, and it's not a feeling you want someone to have. I did an episode on selling, and it was James, and he said that, I think this is really good. So he's a sales expert, and he said, he always lets people go away and think. I think that's really important. I had someone once who told me that, I was doing kind of chemistry calls for a program. It was a very big purchase. So basically someone would have watched a webinar with me and then spoke to me on the phone for half an hour and then was expected to pay several £1,000s. And they said, don't let them off the phone until you've got the credit card details. And I never did, because I think, do you know what, if someone comes off that call and decides that I am not right, or now it's not right for them, or I'm not right for them, I don't want their money. I don't want to take them on that process. I want them to have time to think about it. And if they decide to come back, great. I don't want someone on my program who doesn't want to be there, or I'm not going to help. No. So I definitely agree with that whole thing about, let people have, go away and think. And if you're talking to someone, or you're seeing that they're sort of, they're marketing and they're encouraging you not to think, then that's a huge red flag to me.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like, if somebody is saying to me when I speak to them that they want more time to think about it, of course they do. Like, I don't want anybody to feel uncomfortable with any of the decisions that they're making, because if they're having to make one in a moment based on a scarcity or something that's going to, like, they're making a decision from the wrong place. You've got to make a decision from the right place. And the right place is, this program, this course, this person is going to help me to where I want to get to. Everything feels in alignment. It is full-bodied. I know that we're going to do it. Like that energy going into something is going to serve you so much better than going, oh, I'm not sure that this is going to work. And I just feel like, I've hidden something, or I've spent money that I don't have, and I'm having to hide the credit card statements. Nah. No.
And I had to say, the whole thing about get rich slow is that if you can grow a business really fast, you can have a launch and you can recruit people to a program, you can missell it, or you can get them in emotionally. And if those people don't have a great experience, if you've recruited the wrong people and then it's not the right time for them, they've been seduced by marketing, they're not going to have a great experience. They're not going to tell people they've had a great experience. And you might earn a lot of money now, but are you going to be around in 10 years' time? But also, and we started this out by talking about, what your right version of success is. And it's about loving what you do. And you and I know, and I'm sure lots of people listening will understand if they've run a business, like it is hard to retain your passion for what you do year after year after year. And for it to be fresh and you to turn up with energy and deliver and want to create new things. And that comes from being authentic. And I think, when you bring people in because you just want money and they're not the right people, and they're not having a great time, and they're going to sleep feeling bad, I don't think that you can have a business that's going to be there 10 years time that you love and that has got a great reputation and has grown consistently over that time.
Yeah, it really comes from your duty of care and getting really honest about what your intention is for what you're creating all the time.
Absolutely. So a couple more questions. So firstly, what's happening for you next? So we talked about you're ditching the old way you do launches, doing a new thing, but I know you've got some exciting things in the plan for your business. So what are they?
Yeah, well, as we speak today, I'm kind of focusing on upcoming things. So my Festival of Wellbeing on the Isle of Wight, I'm just focusing on that in this present moment, and the lineup for that is looking amazing, which is happening in September on the Isle of Wight. I'm also, we're just taking on the next round of people coming in for the Practical Magic training, which is beautiful, and they're such a great group, and looking at how we now create that as an evergreen product so people can join anytime that works for them, and how we then focus that on different areas. So I'm really interested in how tuning into intuition, getting more emotionally intelligent and aware, how we can start taking that into the corporate space so people can have better experiences, more creativity, more intuition, more well-being at work. That really excites me. And then the big news is Big Bold Beautiful, the book is coming next year. So I'm in the process of writing my first full-length book, which is pretty cool.
Excellent. So I will end on, and I know we've talked a lot about this, but if you were to sum up really briefly for someone who's got a quick tick list, what are your tips for an ethical, successful launch? What should someone be doing?
Yeah, so definitely you should be nurturing a community. And if you don't have a community yet, start building one. So how you can start bringing them, providing a service based on what it is that community needs. So ask them and listen. Make sure that you're focusing when you are doing your launches, make sure that you're focusing on the benefits of what you're going to be bringing to people instead of the pain points. And be really, really clear on your pricing. Be really clear on how you are being more inclusive in what you're offering, making sure that you are getting really down and dirty with the tangible outcomes that people are going to get. Watch your language. I think one thing that the coaching world, and especially the spiritual coaching world, is there's a lot of coaching speak, and that can be, and I know I do it myself, so I'm having to do this all the time. It's yeah, but what does that actually mean to people? What is it that they need? What are the outcomes that they're going to get? And focus on the benefits of what they're going to get, rather than focusing on the fear of what happens if they don't do it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kate. And if someone wants to find you, where should they go?
So my website is www.katetaylor.co. So that's .co, not .com or kateTaylor.co.uk. And generally, I'm hanging out on Instagram if I'm on social media at Kate Taylor Creative Living, and you can find me on Facebook at the same place too.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
And I wish you the best of luck with your book.
Thank you.